Yeah, I've been trying to get everything situated with the website. I don't know what the fuck's going on with it.
No, I get you, and I don't even mention it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, listen, I wish, obviously
Ooh.
it's one of those things where it works like 80% of the time. I've like removed and installed so many different plugins and everything else like that.
Updated, like you said.
Yeah, and I did it so that it doesn't show like like how like you used to go to it and it would like look like the mobile way on your phone, which would be different if you accessed it a different way.
Right.
So I changed it so it doesn't look like that, thinking that's what it was, and then I lost like my one editor, so then I had to reinstall that. I'm putting the plea out to anyone listening that if you're familiar with WordPress or website building in general, please reach out to me. I'm not going to like take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to figure out some way for if you help me, to compensate you for that. But I get it if you don't. I completely understand. I do have it in my calendar here in 2.5 weeks to bother Studebaker about
the codes.
Yes,
Yeah.
about the codes. So when that comes up, I am going to, because that's like that at that point will be about 2 months before it rolls over.
Right.
So I'm going to talk to him to see about what we could do, because he still has like Prime Defective and like 2 other sites under that same thing. And I might just like try to hash something out with him to see if he knows how to do this shit.
Right. I'm sure he'll be helpful.
Help fix it, because he's the one who kind of helped like built this website 12 years ago, which is why it looks like a old website, which is fine. But
I know, and
I'm not losing. If it makes you feel any better, I'm not losing sleep over it anymore.
Right.
But anytime that I'm in front of a screen, it's encompassing my life.
Right, I gotcha. And I would like to say this because I never say it. I really appreciate all the work you do on this, because I know, like, I never say it, but I know you're the backbone of doing that shit. So thank you, and I never bother you about it other than here. If you ask me, like, if has anything happened with it, this is the way it works for me. Otherwise, I'm like, if the site don't work, I don't send a text is what's happening. You know what I mean? The only time I send it now is when it goes down, like it did last time, and we had to get the codes. That was a completely different situation.
This week, actually, depending on the actual day, we're not counting con screenings, but like theatrical release and so forth. This is the 30th anniversary of Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, somebody sent me an article I meant to read on that, like behind the scenes. But I don't know if you know that that's a good movie.
Right. The reason I was going to mention that was, obviously I appreciate the kind words in regards to the work that I'm doing at the website, but it's not fixed 100%. So, the wolf would say, let's not,
Yep. How about you, Lash?
Not just yet. Keep your spurs from jingling and jangling.
Yep. That's my favorite line in the whole movie, by the way.
Yeah. And then what the fuck does Travolta say back to him? Like, Travolta makes some sort of flippant remark, and that used to be one. My mind is starting to go.
Oh, listen, how many times have you talked to me and I'm like, what's that word that I need to know? And,
the unimportant stuff is starting to finally shake itself out. Like, the pre-1994 sports knowledge is finally starting to shake itself out.
Is the Simpson knowledge still ingrained in there? Or?
It's still pretty. It's still pretty good. Luckily, I was never one of those guys that like remembered like episode titles or numbers.
Right, but you would just on a trip to go see wrestling recite a whole episode with a friend.
And there's a couple episodes I could probably still do that too, with some sort of regularity, success rate, or otherwise. But the sports stuff, the broad strokes are still there.
Right.
But I used to know like Super Bowl like winners and losers, and World Series winners and losers, and that sort of stuff.
I thought you were going to give me attendances, because I know you know those numbers.
No. There's only one attendance that counts when it comes to sports and entertainment. But no, it was somebody. I was watching something the other day. Brian Myers and Joe Shoes of the Toy Boy podcast.
Yep, I might be seeing one of them this weekend. But
yes. Broski is in Germany, I think.
Back in the homeland. Gotcha.
Yes. Well, they were talking sports because they're Mets guys, and it was like kind of them doing a live watch of whatever the game this weekend where the Mets beat the Phillies. Was that this weekend? Was that last weekend? I don't.
It was recently. Don't know when, because I'm not an American cricket guy. You know.
Right. So it was watching them, and they were rattling off numbers, or like Joe Shoe's very, very, very good at that sort of stuff. Big baseball guy, big Master of the Universe guy, whatever. So he's rattling off those things, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I'm like, I have vague strokes of like 89 and the Dodgers, but like it's all finally starting to fade away because it's not knowledge that I've used very often. But it still could be probably shook out with a stick, you know?
I'd love to shake a stick at you. So,
well, I mean, put a stick inside there and just shake it around.
Oh, yeah,
loosen it up, right?
Yeah, it's like getting all crusty.
Yeah, exactly.
But.
So how was you? How was your week? How's everything going?
Interesting. I had to call the game commission to remove a dead deer from the Cinnabon lot.
Oh boy.
So a customer comes up to me. He's like, whenever I come to the Cinnabon, I like to let my dog run around, which is fine. And he goes, and I was looking for him. And I went, and like where it's at is like off in a corner where you can't really see from anywhere. And then there's like a deep slope. When I'm talking about a hill, it's like a 45-degree angle, and like right in the corner next to the fence, he goes, I find the dog, and he's sniffing this deer, and I'm like, oh, he's like, Daddy's definitely. And so I went out, and I didn't have to like go in because I was on the other side of the fence, and I could see it, and it was a little deer. It was like a doe, young. We're guessing that it got into the fenced area, and they don't see fences. Like they'll run towards the fence to get away from somebody and smack right into it. Not, like they don't see the chain link fence well. So we think it broke its neck. I don't know. Maybe it died of natural causes. I didn't have an autopsy done on it. But I called one of the guys who has the building next door. He's like, oh, I know. You call the game commission. I have the number because I know some. He goes, I know some people who work there. Called up, got a lady. She's like, oh, where are you at? And I gave her the address. And she's like, are you there? I need your phone number in case, where is it in relation to the lot? And I said, it's here, but you might not be able to see it because of where it's hidden. So if he needs help, here's my number and he can find me. And I had to do something to help the fancy gentleman, so I left work a little bit, and I told the guys there, like, if they come, you know where it is, just tell them where it is. They never said anything. They just showed up, and when I got back, it was gone. So I don't know what they do with them. I don't know if they, like, cremate them, bury them, what. Yeah. But I was going to ask questions if I was there to show them. Maybe like, what do you do with these? Do you take them home and eat them? What do you do? Right. But, so one dead deer gone, Joe.
So I've been, obviously deer are just all over the place right now. You've been up to DJ's house at soon to be named Network North before, right?
Of course, yeah.
So I was going up there this past weekend for the pay-per-view, and I talked last week. I'll Pokemon Go on my phone, but I won't do anything else. Like I won't text or anything like that. So I'm at the light going up like 309 or whatever, or 115 or whatever road that is.
Right.
And I'm at the light to make the left on the DJ's road. And as I'm making the left around that turn, there's just 3 deer standing in the middle of the road.
Right.
And luckily there's nobody behind me because they would have hit me and hit me into the deer.
Right.
Which is how my wife totaled her car back way before, like, we're talking 20 plus years ago.
This might be them finding you for that.
Yes.
Getting revenge on April.
It was one of those things where, like, I know honking the horn at them doesn't do anything because they're stupid.
Right.
And so I flashed my lights and one moved, and I slowly just went around the other ones, hoping that it didn't spook them, or that if it spooked them, they would run away from my car.
And not into your window and in your car.
Right. So as this is happening, I get a ping on my phone. But I'm doing this. I'm driving. I don't check it. go down the road. I pull into DJ's driveway, and it was DJ sending me a text that says, "Hey, be careful. There's lots of deer out today."
Yeah. Look at him on the ball. Go ahead.
So then I went to my dad's on Sunday. My dad lives near where the retailer used to live. Mm-hmm. Like, he lives maybe 3 blocks up from where the retailer used to live.
Right.
And 5 blocks up from where the retailer used to live, they put in like a new development, which they took a lot of woods out. Mm-hmm. And they put the new development in maybe like 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Right.
Now the deer really have nowhere to go. They go in my dad's yard now.
Right.
You were talking about them not knowing the fence. They know to jump the fence he has around his yard. And he was like, Saturday night, motion sensor goes off, and he goes and he checks, and there's 4 deer just in his backyard roaming around. And when he woke up Sunday morning, they were sleeping in his yard.
Oh, that's cute.
There you go.
Right. And you know what I always say to all those people, because I hang out with a bunch of hunters and stuff like that I knew over the years, and everybody's like, oh, poor defenseless deers. Like, they will smack you in the head with their hooves. When they're in rutting season, they are like as dangerous as anything. So this Bambi bullshit, tell it walking, is what I say.
I will never forget, this was many, many years ago as well. Darryl Hall of Hall & Oates was on Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. Did you know Darryl Hall and John Oates hate each other?
I had heard tell that was a thing.
Yes. So at the time, at least, when Darryl Hall was in on Howard Stern, Darryl Hall is a big anti-deer person.
Right.
And it was one of those things where, like, oh, you know, they have the guys that do the research or whatever it is, and Darryl Hall's in. It's a light and a fun interview talking about his music, his solo career, you know, whatever. And then Howard gets the notes from one of the guys to bring up deer
okay.
to Darryl Hall. And it was like not even joking around Three Stooges Niagara Falls.
Right.
It was like on a switch. He turned and he's like, those motherfucker things, they're worse than this. They're the biggest infestation in the world. They should be completely, like, it was like crazy, right? And I'll never forget, like, that is my lasting memory of Darryl Hall, is that he vehemently and angrily hates deer.
That's fantastic. My only other deer story is the retailer and I, he ended up getting tickets, whether he bought them and wanted me to go with him, because I was like, for the cult. He had never seen the cult. Every time he tries to go to see the cult, something horrible happens.
Right.
And he's like, oh, let's go see the cult. Like, the tickets were super on sale. He's like, I'll buy you one. Go with me. I'm like, I'm not like a cult guy. And he's like, but I'll buy you the tickets. So we go, and I forget where we were going, but we were going down the turnpike. And a deer just came out and like, when I say destroyed his car, like, came up into the windshield and everything, like, didn't come in, and then it just got up and walked away. And like, we had to pull over to get, you know, the cops came, they towed the car. We were driving with the tow truck driver. I forget if he got a rental there, and we went home. But we always say, like, anytime like a deer jumps out in front of us, that's that deer coming back to finish us off. But so
you cleaned up the deer at the Cinnabon, probably ate too much of that uncooked dough.
Well, that's, you know, it's all good. It's all good. And the only other thing was, you know, that seamless transition at my bank, that as they switched over companies.
Yes, I said it's going to run smoothly.
Yep.
You have the new app installed. You have the new website ready to go.
It didn't go seamless, Joe. Spoiler alert.
No.
So, like, other than the fact that I can use my debit card and stuff like that, that's all working. But the whole point of it is, like, now, because I did a bunch of transactions before they shut down. Like I paid bills like online and stuff. And it's not that like I'm going to go broke. I'm taking cash to the convention this weekend, but I want to see what went through. I want to make sure I have stuff that comes out from the Cinnabon, like that I need to be paid. So I didn't want any like stuff fucking around with it. So I was like, oh, let me check and see what my money's up to. And then I know it's in my checking account for debit. If I go to New York and they're like, oh, we don't take cash, only debit.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And I go into the new app because the old app doesn't work. And it's like, okay, you need to log in. And
not to interrupt you. So they sundowned. The old app is just gone.
Yes.
It's not like it's been replaced by the new one or.
Yeah. So Friday, they said the bank closes on Friday at 5:00. They told us at 3:00, not only the app, but any electronic banking through our site is going down at 3:00.
Okay.
So it went down. And then Saturday, they were closed. Sunday, they're closed, obviously. Monday was Columbus Day. So They were closed. And they're like, that's the day we're all going to come in and make sure that everything runs smoothly, kind of a deal. And I was like, okay, so I download the new app. It's 9:00 on, Tuesday morning as we record this, because that was the first you'd really be able to use it. I go in and they like on my old app, I had a name, like a username. So they told me I had to use that again. So, and I had to use, that. And when I signed in, like, it didn't give me a chance to use my old password. It was like, okay, we know who you are by your username. You need to create a new password for this place because the old password was 8 characters. And you know how they have that mumbo jumbo, like 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, 1 number, 1 special character, which I'm fine with.
And it can only be certain special characters, right. And it can't be similar to your last X amount of passwords. Oh, yes, right. I'm well aware.
Right. So this one, they said you have to have 10 characters. So regardless, even my password wouldn't work, which I'm fine with. I figured out what I wanted. So I go in and then they're like, okay, this is Mr. Cinnabon, name of the business. And I'm like, no. So I changed that to my shoot name,
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And it has the business as the address for any mailing. And I'm like, nope. So I give him my house address. And I go, boom. And they're like, okay, you update your password, sign in. And every time I sign in, my email goes off that I've changed my password. I've signed in. There's an authorization, whatever. So it's like beep. As I do another thing, beep. I'm like, okay, I have to get in and change that at least because I want maybe text messages or even shut it off, whatever. But as soon as I get in, all that's there is the Cinnabon account with what's in there, not my checking, not my savings. And then I have on the old app, I had a joint account with my father and brother. Like that's like a family thing. Like if anything happens to my father, me and my brother can access this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when we go in, they're not there. Those 3 accounts are there. Only the Cinnabon one. And I can access the Cinnabon one. It tells me all the purchases made over the weekend, their automatic withdrawals and stuff, which I'm fine with. But it doesn't show me the other 3. And it's constantly doing the wheel, like, thinking thing.
Uh-huh.
And so I go around trying to figure out how to, like, maybe I got to add those, you know what I mean? Like, because I had to add the original ones, and I can't figure anything out. So I go to the bank at 10 this morning, and Joe, the parking lot is at capacity. Joe, there was 10,000 people in the bank in Dixon.
Wait a minute. That bank in Dixon doesn't hold 10,000 people.
It did that morning, Joe. So I go in, I'm waiting in line. I go up. I had to deposit a check for my father also, so I did. And I was like, okay, this is, and they're like, it's going to be a little bit. I said, well, I have another appointment, which I did. I had to go run and do. So I said, so I'll come back. So that's regardless. That was on me. I thought they could do something, but I only had a little bit of time. But I had to deposit that check regardless.
I gotta get my joke in here. This dough isn't going to undercook itself, ma'am.
That's right. Dough, a female deer. But So I go and I come back and I'm talking, and all the ladies are wonderful. They're the same people from the old bank. I've interacted with them. And I'm like, okay, this is what it's doing. She's like, oh, okay. Well, this is the new lady that you have. Like, she works here. She was from the Dunmore branch. She's been transferred here. And I go in and I talk to her, and she's like, well, what's going on in this? And she's like, oh, man, she goes, it's been a day. We came in on Monday for Columbus Day. Everything was going to transfer over smoothly. We're only supposed to be here an hour. I was here 10 hours. I wasn't dressed for work because they only told me. I said, but it was your day, like a day off that you shouldn't have been in there. You should have came in shorts. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, but I wanted to do dress casual. Then today, all this is going on, and my phone just stops working in my office. So I call the IT guy, and he goes, oh. And she goes, so that's where I am with the phone. And she's like, so what do you have? I said, these accounts. She's like, all right, give me your social security number. And she's all right, so I can find your accounts, and these are the correct numbers? And I'm like, yes, I know that one off the top of my head, and these two I'd have to look up, but I have them on my phone. She's like, okay, well, I'm going to add them to, I'm going to, call whoever I got to, or get in touch with whoever I have to, email or whatever, and they'll add them to your account and come back and see me tomorrow if it's not there. After telling her, I'm like, I kind of want all this done because I'm going on vacation in 2 days. And right. I don't know what. And I did say, I'm like, you guys are in over your head. You're the soldiers on the front line. I'm not yelling at you, like, because I wouldn't do that. And the other girls here know me. But I want to get this worked out before I go. Like, and she's like, okay, we're going to do our best. Come back tomorrow and we'll, if it goes fine, then don't worry about it. But if it goes wrong, come back early so we can get a jump start on it, for the whole day. But that's where we are. And then just person after person was just coming in the bank. And it was this problem and that problem. And then people were coming in and just going, yeah, the bank just stopped working. Like, and it's like, yes, like we told, like, not. You had to transfer over to the other site. We've sent you 10 letters, pamphlets on how to do it. And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, there are people who are worse off than me in this situation who don't know how to do stuff. I'm halfway coherent when it comes to the electronic banking stuff. So, right. But it's a cluster right now.
That's the one thing. I don't have my bank's. I use my bank's website all the time, but I don't have my bank's app on my phone.
Well, I put the app on.
Yeah.
I went through the account too. I wanted to see if one worked, like the web, like the actual online, or because I was like, oh, if I can get the app up and running, then that's fine. And that's how I pay myself. I just transfer money out of the account. So now until they get it up and running, I have to like paper check myself because that's the only way to do it. There's no transfer right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But just lots of cash in my pocket. Nobody come and rob me. Okay. But so smooth. It was all smooth, Joe.
And I'm sure it'll be worked out by when are you leaving for New York?
4:30 Thursday morning.
Thursday. Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And one last thing, big event. There was this small, soon to be named network meetup at the comic shop today.
Oh.
There was me. The fancy gentleman, DJ, and I won't call him by his nickname because apparently that didn't go over well. Brett.
Yeah, that was you tried.
They told me I couldn't make it stick. I said if I want to make it stick, I will. But we ended up having a interesting conversation. There was a fig hostage swap at the shop. So, and then DJ talked about the Mike Mignola Museum exhibit. That was cool, and we had some good times.
Maybe I need to start coming on Tuesdays as opposed to Wednesdays.
Maybe nobody wants to see you. That's why we go on Tuesdays.
I guess. I don't know. Listen, I would not be surprised.
No.
How is your project for Adam going, by the way? The fancy.
Actually really well. I know we've said this and it's not going to happen because of the website, but I could sell the shit out of CLZ to anybody if I had to.
Right.
But all his books that aren't CGC'd and a few big ones, like there was a few that were in boxes that I found immediately. Like I forget actually what they are. Like, oh, this is a hot book. Like, take this home. You know what I mean?
Right.
He put them in the Discord, I believe, whatever they were. But I have them all here. I think I have 30 long boxes altogether, and I cleaned up my house to like move stuff to do it. And at this point, about 10 long boxes are almost finished of the Marvel. So like I broke it down into that. So all I have to do is bag and board. He gave me some bag and boards. There's a bunch of Lucy's. So I'm going to put those in, and then I'm going to put them where they go. And that'll be 10 boxes that I can get out of my house and send back to him. And then part of the deal was I was going to put them in on an app for him. On the like a sign in for his, but he's having so much fun with the new app or the new site or whatever you want to call it, that he's been putting his CGC books in that are at the house and the Lucy's that he had up there. And there were some new books that he hadn't read yet that he was putting in, learning how to do it. And he's like, I love this app. It's showing me like what I have and like what key things are. I'm like, it's great. And I was like, and since you're having so much fun, I won't even put those in the app for you. You can have all that fun at your house when I drop them off. And he was like, oh, okay. But we're a third of the way through. I won't be doing any more now until I get back from New York. But once again, I remember why I gave up long boxes, Joe.
You mentioned that last week.
Yep. I think I may have given myself a hernia this week, so. But we'll see if I survive. So I've had a full week. It's usually not a Todd heavy episode of After Dark, Joe.
I'm resending stuff through their website yet again.
Right, that wasn't
no. Listen, I had it here because I had to update it recently. So
don't forget, I have our ad rate calculator if we need.
Oh,
to,
good,
so.
good.
I still have to send that to Adam. So one of these days, I keep forgetting because I have too much going on. But yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
If not, I would even just take a free subscription. That would be great.
Even a discounted one.
Right. You know what though? I say, see, this is me selling it again, Joe. $20 a year is not bad for what it does.
No, absolutely not.
They did have a price increase lately, and I was like, though they did, because I'm in the CLZ Facebook group, they changed the logo for the app icon, and people went nuts. It was terrible.
And they had to change it back or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the group, people were like, but it's the whole marketing thing. The app said whatever color it was, it said CLZ on it. Blah, blah, blah. And now they changed it to a word balloon with a question mark in it with CLZ written really small on the bottom of the app, like icon. And I was like, you can't even read, like, no, like you don't do that. You don't make Coca-Cola small and then put like a question mark on your bottle. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
It's in the same spot on my phone. So when it changed, I'm just like, oh, it changed. Okay.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. It's an exclamation point, not a question mark. But
yeah.
But it said it's going on the next round of updates. It's going back. So.
Mm-hmm.
See, I could be fair, but also tough on something I love.
Yeah. And like, I have a couple nitpicks too. Like there's books when you look at the current week, like just as an example, as we're talking, Dead Eyes, the new miniseries, the second issue of the miniseries comes out next week,
right?
But it's in this week's books.
Now is it really? Because I know you mean like when you go to ad, they have like barcode series issues and new comic book day.
Yeah,
but whenever I hit that, it's always 1 week ahead. You have to go back.
No, now see, when I go in, the way I have it set up is it's the week of.
Okay, it always jumps to when I press that. It always goes to the week of whatever. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But Either way, I'm
happens
fine with it.
sometimes, like books, and it's it's something that we've lamented about here, where sometimes like the publishers will have one date versus another date, and depending on who you're getting it shipped from or whatever.
Right.
But usually CLZ is pretty good about that. It doesn't happen very often where I have to wait like, okay, well, here's this book that I know I'm getting next week. All right, I'll just add it because it's right here,
Right. I will say this, like if I had a nitpick, like I buy those Rogues Scout comics.
Yes.
They might they'll come out, but they won't be in the app right away. Like, I don't know if it's because it's a lesser known, smaller company. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the company, I don't know if CLZ adds the books each week or if users add the books.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Right. Because Adam was doing his and Rogues was actually the book that he was doing. And he has a rare variant cover, which is a sketch cover that they only made like 50 or 25 copies of at a con in Europe. And he has that one and it's not in the app. And I was like, well, you can add it. And he's like, yeah, I'd have to figure that out, but whatever. But with Rogues, it's never there immediately. I have to wait a week or two after it comes out. And I have to remind myself to add it because it'll be 2 weeks ago and I'll forget. So if anything ever happens, that I can't add a book to my thing, I add it to the little notepad in my phone. So it's all right, remember that you have to add these later. And, but usually that's only really weird off kill. It's never happened with a DC or a Marvel. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Worst case scenario is there'll be a variant cover that's mislabeled or the wrong artist will be credited, but then it'll be fixed when enough people go in and fix it.
Right.
Or it'll say cover A, what is on the diamond order sheet technically is cover B or C is in there as D or E, right?
Right.
But which is no big deal because as long as the picture is right, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And or I don't, and so I've added, because I've made a few things for myself for my collection because I had weird promo things that I wanted to add. And I was like, all right, they're not in here. I'm just going to add them really quick to my collection. I don't know if they go to the cloud or whatever, but I took a picture so I'd know what it was and everything. But there's a lot of things you can do with it. So,
right.
Look at that. Pay me.
But yeah, so that's it for Longbox Heroes After Dark. I'll put the closing here. Patreon show rolls out this week. If you already got it off of the At Odds Patreon a couple of weeks ago, myself, Todd, and Adam, the Fancy Gentleman, will be discussing Jean-Claude Van Damme's highest grossing movie.
Right.
Of all time. And listen, you're listening to the Longbox, you're listening to After Dark. Maybe you're at the $5 level, so you're listening to everything ahead of schedule. I'm not going to tip the hand of what 2025's have issues is yet.
Right.
But I remember at the beginning of the show, I said there's something that's not keeping me up at night.
Right.
I have now something new to keep me up at night.
Uh-oh.
How we're going to organize that for next year.
Oh, good. It should be pretty easy. It'll be fine.
Well, so... not to give too much away. Just real quick to get back to Comic Book Oddities. So Comic Book Oddities, we have Time Cop this month, Supergirl next month, and then I think the month after that we're foregoing the wheel and we're doing Kraven.
Yeah, I'm going to go at gunpoint to see Kraven. So
yeah, so that's the rest of the year for Comic Book Oddities. Todd and Joe have issues for next year. Todd, would you believe the trades, the hardcovers,
oh no,
the omnibuses, and the absolutes all collect the ancillary material in a different way?
Fantastic.
And none of it is the way that it was actually released as single issues.
Woo. Yeah, we'll go by cover date. That's all.
So, okay.
Right. And use, I don't know, maybe a cutoff to storylines. You know what I mean? If it's released in the middle of a storyline, maybe before or after. You know what I mean?
So, teasing this, not letting anyone know what it is just yet.
I think people are going to figure it out, but go ahead.
Well, we're tiptoeing around it, right? We're tiptoeing.
Right. If I was a detective, I'll tell you how I'd figure it out later.
I haven't said how many issues in total it is.
Right. But when you said all the ways it's collected, there's not many books that do that. So.
Okay. There's more than you think.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I already looked at and compared the 5 ways that it's collected.
Right.
Against cover date.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like some zhuzhin with cover date that I could play with.
Right.
Like, okay, like here's this one shot, right? Mm-hmm. And the cover date is the beginning of a new story arc. Well, I'll put it in between the one that ended and the one that started, right?
Right.
Those are easy to fit in. The miniseries, I forgot how early that came out.
Right.
Because it's in like the 3rd or 4th trade, but it's cover dated alongside like issue 5.
Mm-hmm.
So my only concern with it is I have the single issues, you have the single issues, I have the trades, you have the trades, I have the omnibuses, you have the omnibuses. I'm sure you have all sorts of other collections of it as well.
Yep.
It's just going to be difficult when we say, okay, we're going to go by cover date.
Right. Also telling the people following along, now you have to jump to this trade or that. Yes. Like basically go, all right, if you're following along in the trades, go to this trade. If you're following along in the hardcovers, go to this hardcover. If you're following along in the omnibuy, go to this one. It's like ridiculous.
And that's the only thing that we need to tackle is like, as we do that, and like how the post goes out every week, I'm just like, this is the hardcover. This is what it is. Okay.
Right.
I'm just going to do the trades and say, here's the trades.
Right.
And here's how you read it. When you get to issue 4, you got to jump to trade number 3 and read these 4 issues.
Mm-hmm. Then here's the way I say to do it. Make it easy on us, because I think our fans are smarter than, maybe we're giving them credit for. It's just like, it's X issue of this. Find it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you have the collections, then it's in one of them. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't mean to be like that jerk, but it's you know what? If you buy the floppies, you don't have this problem.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Support comics.
That's it. This was Longbox Heroes After Dark, episode 517. For real, if you're familiar with WordPress or you want to help me figure out the website, shoot me a line.
Throw the man a life preserver, man.
I need something. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.